神羅転生
Yo, what's going on everyone? It is the Mist again, and welcome back to a new video on the channel today. So, episode 45 of Boruto just came out, and I hate repeating myself over and over again, but this series just keeps getting better and better, and this episode was yet again a showcase of how good the series can be. I mean, this episode could potentially be the best episode of the entire arc. We'll obviously find out once the arc concludes, but this episode was specifically incredible, and I feel like this episode was just so far above the rest that we've had in this arc so far, and that's a lot. That's saying a lot, since every episode in this arc has been a solid 8 out of 10 thus far. So getting into the review, like I said, this episode was very good. Now, there were some minor issues with the episode. For example, I was really taken out of the episode in some places where the art and animation were a bit bumpy and didn't look as good as I thought it could. That's an issue with the Boruto series, like a minor issue that isn't discussed much, but it kind of catches my attention every now and then. Like, I'll see art that isn't colored correctly, or doesn't look high quality, or something odd, and it just catches my attention. But I mean, that can't take away from how good this episode was in terms of storytelling and in terms of our character building with Shikadai and Roigi. And speaking about Roigi, this episode gave us a backstory to his character, and oh my god, guys, this guy, I was not expecting this. I was not expecting a backstory as dark as this. It just took me off guard so hard and slapped me in the face and said, look at this. Look at his parents getting murdered by some rich man who didn't want his money to be stolen. Like, what the heck, dude? This episode was just incredible, and Roigi's character is very, very tragic, and you know, he's just a child that essentially has already lost his innocence, so I can tell that he isn't afraid to kill. He's probably not afraid to kill. You know, he witnessed his parents being murdered. This is so weird to say, but that scene, there is something so cultivating and so beautiful about scenes like that, because what it does is it just sparks your attention and intrigues you and scares you, and there is something so beautiful when a show does that, and this is exactly what Boruto did in this exact scene, where Roigi is saying, "Mother, behind you, please run," and then all of a sudden her throat just gets cut and the blood splatters on Roigi's face, and that is just insanely dark, and this kid witnessed this, and he looked so young at that age as well. This episode did such a great job at telling his backstory and giving us an insight into the Byakuya gang and what they pretty much do. And this pretty much changed my opinion somewhat on the Byakuya gang as well, because I primarily thought that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but after this episode, my opinion has swayed. You know, the series, this arc is doing such a great job at saying, these are the cons, but these are also the pros. Is this good or is this bad? And this is very, very good to see. I like seeing this conflict in opinion. I think that's awesome for the show to be doing, and the fact that we have two different sides, each with different beliefs. Boruto being the side that doesn't accept it and thinks it's terrible, Roigi being the side that thinks, I'm doing this because it helps people, and then you've got Shikadai in the middle who sees that, you know, this is for the better, but they aren't doing it correctly, but it's not for me to judge because I don't know. So I really like this dynamic that they're taking with this arc. I feel like this, like I said a few reviews ago, maybe even last week, this could be the best arc we've seen in the Boruto series, just because of the direction they're taking, the storytelling. This arc is honestly, story-wise, the best writing we've seen in the Boruto series so far, especially with this episode. This episode blew me away. At the end of the episode, we had a beautiful interaction between Roigi and Shikadai, where essentially Roigi, he is standing there thinking about his past, and then the leader, I think his name is Gecko. The leader is Gecko, and he is not Roigi's father. He is actually his uncle. He's Uncle Gecko, and he comes in and he's like, "You're thinking about your past?" And Roigi's like, "Yeah, I was." And then he lets him go, and Roigi goes to see Shikadai, and that's what happens. And then they play shogi for a long time, and I mean, the way that they construct the scenes, even of playing shogi, is just insane. I mean, I don't understand it. They're doing such a great job with this series right now. I mean, this is just so far above what we've been seeing, and I'd love to see what the people who dislike the series have to say, because, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but if you have complaints about this arc, then I can only assume that you're a Narutard that can't accept the Boruto series because you're a massive fanboy of the Naruto series. Like, I'm sorry, but I mean, this arc has just been insanely good, and for anyone to have major gripes against it is just insane because of how little bad they've been doing. I mean, I don't think this arc has been praised enough. I haven't seen enough praise for this arc and what they're doing correct. This arc has been great, and this episode has been the best in the arc. I'm saying it. This episode 45 is the best episode we've had so far in this arc, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, we had the backstory for Roigi, which was executed beautifully. That's the first time we've seen such a beautiful backstory in the Boruto series. They executed it perfectly. We got to see the agony in Roigi's character. We got to see him use his Kikai Genkai out of anger and rage, and it just brought back memories of the original Naruto series to me. And then obviously the interaction, the shogi game, and that shogi game they played itself was executed perfectly because it showed it had a little bit symbolism in it in terms of what will happen into the futures in the future, like in the forthcoming episodes, I should say, not the future, which I thought was cool to see, the foreshadowment. And secondly, just the interaction between Roigi and Shikadai in this episode was phenomenal, and I mean fantastic, because essentially what happens is Shikadai wins the game of shogi for the first time ever, right? Yes. And then Shikadai says, "I'm not gonna let us," I don't know the rules of shogi, so I don't know what he really meant, but he said, like, "I'm not gonna let you redo this unless you answer my question," or something along those lines. Just remember, I don't know the context of shogi, I don't know how it works, so I don't know if I'm putting my words into the correct context, but bear with me. So yeah, Shogi says, "Okay, a question? That should be easy enough." And then Shikadai hits him in the face with the question, "You are with the Byakuya gang, aren't you?" And instantly, Roigi tries to lie, but Shikadai says, "Nah man, don't lie with me, I know you're lying. I know you're part of the Byakuya gang." And then Roigi's like, "No, I'm not, dude, I'm not, Shikadai, how could you think that?" And then, man, Shikadai is so intelligent. Essentially, he says, okay, so Roigi pulls out a lamp because they were playing there for essentially the entire night. So Shikadai says, that lamp was stolen, that lamp showed up on the stolen items list, and then Roigi instantly gets shocked and he's like, "Damn, that was too fast, how could that be on the list already?" And then he realizes that Shikadai tricked him into admitting he was a part of the Byakuya gang. And I mean, that specific scene was so perfect. I mean, this writing is amazing. I mean, incredible right now. This is some of the best writing. You know, I'm only praising this so much because this is so far above what we've seen in the series so far. You may think I'm just being way too enthusiastic about this series in general, but no, it's just because these episodes are phenomenal in terms of what we've seen in the series so far. These episodes are literally usually 8 out of 10s at minimum. Like, this episode was so good because of just the stuff I've been mentioning. So Shikadai catches him, and then that's where the conflict starts. Essentially, Roigi says, "So what are you gonna do, Shikadai? Are you gonna lock me up? Are you gonna hand me into the leaf?" And Shikadai says, "No, of course not." And then that's where Roigi's like, "Yeah, you'll just all talk. I don't care now. I've realized that I thought you understood me, but now I understand that you don't understand me." And I don't remember what sentence Shikadai said to trigger him saying that, but I remember that. So essentially, Shikadai says something that triggers Rogi to be like, nah, you don't understand me, Shikadai. Dude, you don't understand me. So I thought that scene was really amazing as well. And God, guys, I mean, the final 5 minutes of this episode were incredible. And essentially, Rogi gets up, uses Ice Style on Shikadai, and the amount of emotion in the voice actors was beautiful. Shikadai's voice actor screaming at the top of his lungs, Rogi! I mean, it was just so good. I mean, this episode definitely deserves to be, I'm gonna say it, guys, this episode was a 10 out of 10. This episode was literally a 10 out of 10 for me. I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna say this episode was a 7. I'm not gonna lie to try to appease to the people that dislike the series. No, this episode was phenomenal in terms of Boruto. This episode was fantastic. Now, my only gripes with this arc and this episode is the fact that this is more of a community-wide problem, I suppose, and this is why Boruto is gets a lot of hate, and it's just the lack of excitement, I suppose. Now, personally, right, I loved this episode, and I thought that the action didn't need to be there. The action wasn't needed in this episode because of the beautiful writing in general. But the main stick that Boruto gets is that, you know, there isn't action, and now, I mean, I think the people that say that just need to calm down, guys. Just calm down. It's coming. It's all leading into a massive climax between the development that they've been giving to Shikadai and Rogi, probably in a massive fight, you know? So it's going to be incredible to see, and I'm so excited, because next episode, they will definitely... I can't spoil it for you guys. If you want to know what happens in episode 46, go check out my last video called The Spoilers, episode 45 to 48 spoilers, and you'll know exactly what happens. But essentially, it's going to be the big mission for the Byakuya gang, and it's going to be insane to see, to say the least. Before I end the video, guys, I just want to say I am sorry for not uploading. Okay, recently I have had school just start up again, and I've been focusing more on that, and I haven't had time to come up with new ideas for theory videos and discussions. So when I get an opportunity to do a review, of course I'm going to take it, because that doesn't take planning. I just have to get on here and say my opinions on the episode. But yeah, I just wanted to say sorry for that. I will try my hardest to get back into the rhythm of uploading, but I'll have to balance everything out somewhat more. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. See you later, guys. Peace out.